Hello everyone, today I'd like to talk about Hidden Beach Recordings Unwrapped series of albums. Now, Hidden Beach Recordings is a record company that started, I think, in the late 90s, and they produced quite a few albums in that 2000s decade. Some like R&B, I think I recall I had a Jill Scott album, and really what I wanted to talk about is the Unwrapped series, which is essentially albums that have smooth jazz or smooth jazz covers of hip hop music. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I was notified or kind of recommended a link to their latest. It's Kendrick Lamar's Volume 9. Unwrapped Volume 9, and it basically features Kendrick Lamar's music on there. And for some reason, I think it's mainly because I've been listening to Kendrick Lamar's latest drop a few months back, and that's why the link came up. And I was surprised, mainly because I thought the Hidden Beach Recordings died, or at least the Unwrapped series. I recall the last time I heard was the one with, I think it was Kanye's All the Lights. I think that one, I think that was either 6 or 7, Unwrapped Volume 7. And that was in like 2010, 2009, 2010, around that time. And ever since then, I haven't heard from this label or this series at all. And I totally forgot until just recently. And knowing that they made like a couple volumes later, I think after that Kanye West Unwrapped, it wasn't Kanye West. They had that song in it. That's the one I recall. But after that album, I think they made a couple more. Most recently, besides the Kendrick Lamar that is I think coming out this year, they made one in 2019 that I didn't even know about. And so I was kind of surprised that this label and the series itself is still going, albeit there's like almost like a 10-year gap between when I remembered and when they produced something. So anyway, because of that, I went ahead and picked up my this Unwrapped is basically a compilation of like their first 4 or 5 of, I believe, of their albums. And I first heard of their album, I think early 2000s, probably at Tower Records or something, and it was Volume 2. It's the one with Big Pun's Still Not a Player. I remember listening to that and the whole album itself, and I was pretty impressed with it. I really like it. Now, Unwrapped, I made a video earlier talking about like jazz and hip hop fusion, and I brought up artists that is like the early 90s, that genre, that era of time, and I brought up like Razzmatazz, Us Three, what I felt about that, what I believed that, I was hoping the direction it would take. And that genre, that jazz hip hop fusion, technically speaking, that's really more like jazz, taking jazz samples or jazz melodies and so forth, and then adding like a hip hop beat to it, as well as rapping over it a bit. And this is kind of the opposite, right? It's doing smooth jazz covers over hip hop music, hip hop songs, popular hip hop songs of the time. So it's the opposite. And I always, when I come to this and re-listening to this this 4 CD set, there's a reason why I was drawn into this. It's really done well, and ironically, I made a video not too long ago talking about smooth jazz, the peak and decline of smooth jazz, and I correlated it to Rippingtons. And not to give it away too much on that video, but one of the reasons why I felt like it started to decline was the smooth jazz genre that reliance, the smooth jazz artists of that time, its reliance on the doing covers, doing smooth jazz covers of pop music. And to me, I thought that was, really that, for me at least, the decline of smooth jazz. And now, it kind of contradicts of what I'm saying right here. There are two main differences between that and this. So, back then, the smooth jazz covers I always thought were from major artists like the Rippingtons. I thought their covers were kind of mediocre, if not bad, very subpar, to put it lightly. So I didn't think they were good. To me, they were more filler material for their albums instead of their very creative, like original smooth jazz stuff. They're just adding covers and more covers of popular music just to seem to fill the albums up. And secondly, the singing on there, I mean, those smooth jazz covers usually have singing to it, and to me, a lot of the singing is subpar as well. It's just subpar melody making, subpar covers, and subpar, singing on top of that. And to me, that's what made it bad. Okay, now this is the opposite of that. You hardly hear singing, first of all, on this. It's literally just instruments. You may hear some, like, the chorus. They might sing a little to the chorus, like the repeats of things. But outside of that, it's pretty much there's no singing. It's just either the horn section, the piano, whatnot, is taking over the rapping part. Okay, so number one. And number two, they've done a real good job, I think, on majority of the hip hop songs that they covered. I thought it was really, really well done. They took the path of not straying away too much, if any, from the original hip hop song, and just making it a really good smooth jazz version of it. Simple as that. And that's why I've always enjoyed the songs on this series. And they not only that, they take really not just popular, but I feel very, very good hip hop songs of the time, especially the late 90s, the 2000s. They took the really good stuff, not just the kind of offbeat or something like you've never heard of or something like that. Pretty much all the songs that they've done that I know since through like 2007 or the volume 7, so 2010, I pretty much know all the songs on there. So that's, and then coming back and listening to this again after remembering about them, and just kind of takes me back in time and just going through this, and I've really, really enjoyed this. Now, during this time, let's say the 2000s, there wasn't much besides this record label. There wasn't many smooth jazz artists like late 90s, 2000s that did hip hop covers, smooth jazz covers of hip hop music. The only other label, I guess, that would follow this kind of pattern was Shanichi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that record label. Shanichi. Now that's a smooth jazz label. I have a few Kim Waters, maybe Walter Beasley, I think, is on that record label. Shanichi. But I think during that time they try to kind of implement their own. I have like a few of their albums. They're Streetwise, The Hot Club, Dre. This is an album basically on Dre. And then R. Kelly. It's more R&B, but So they kind of did something similar, the Shanichi album. Shanichi. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. But outside of that, I don't know if they did other albums as well, but I thought they were okay. To me, it wasn't as good as the Hidden Beach version of what they're trying to accomplish. So again, I bought their albums. I listened to them again as well, and comparing both, I thought Hidden Beach was just above, head and shoulders above, better than what Shanichi did. But that's really the only competition I could think of during that 2000s time when Hidden Beach was doing smooth jazz covers. So anyway, I wanted to bring this up mainly because due to that Kendrick Lamar Volume 9 album that's popping up this year by Hidden Beach, kind of got me into going back and listening to this and thinking of what could have been. And again, for smooth jazz covers, period, of any popular song, any genre, and this happens to be hip hop, I've always thought Hidden Beach did a wonderful job with this. I have absolutely no complaints with what they've done. I think they've used some popular smooth jazz artists at the time too. I think Jeff Lorber was on this, or on the songs as well. And again, they've done it well. They didn't take it to a different path. They took the popular hip hop music, and they've done a really well job. The only other thing I could think of for smooth jazz covers would be to, kind of make it their own, but make it their own done well. And usually that, I've never heard of anything, that's as good. The only other thing I could think of right now is that Bill Cunliffe and Friends album that I did, a video that I did not too long ago on the Paul Simon songbook, that I thought was done exceptionally well for a smooth jazz of Paul Simon's music. That they took liberties on a lot of things. So I thought that was done well. But if you're a hip hop fan or a jazz fan, smooth jazz particularly, even R&B, one or the other or both, I highly recommend. If you haven't heard of Unwrapped, give this a shot. Give this a listen. If you like hip hop, especially hip hop in the 90s, 2000s, this will do justice. Okay, even if you're not into hip hop but you do like smooth jazz, give this a listen to as well. There's no rapping or anything. You may recognize a few of the hip hop songs, but outside of that, it's just straight out smooth jazz covers, and done well on those. So give this a shot. I'm happy to see Hidden Beach is still alive. I may listen to the ones I missed in 2019, and in the Kendrick Lamar, I'll give this a listen to as well when I get a chance. So, but definitely give this a listen. So, highly recommend it. Right. Thanks. Bye.